Starfield sounds better and better every single time we hear about it. So Todd Howard was on the Lex Friedman podcast, and he talked about a lot of things, and one of the main things he went over was Starfield, and it really continues to sound like it is going to be an absolutely incredible game, a generational game. Let's go over some of the things that he went over. So credits to Xbox News here on Twitter, as well as the information where he took this from, which is BXRZ, Kraken King 189, and Theory on Resetter summed up the stuff that Todd Howard said, so you don't have to listen to the entire interview. You just want a quick update, or you can just listen to this video. And here is what he went over in terms of Starfield. The game just continues to sound like it's going to be so good. He says Starfield, these star systems will have levels attached to them. So you're going to have to level up your character to get there. You're not going to be able to just travel to every single star system, which will give you incentive to go and do quests and everything, which I think is cool. It says you won't be stranded out in space with no fuel. It's a fun killer, maybe for a hardcore survival mode in the future. That's something we already knew about, but I mean, I'm happy that they didn't put that feature into the main game. I'm sure there's going to be mods that add in that survival mode, or even just Bethesda themselves will add that into the game. Goes on here to say different spacesuits will have buffs to gases, toxicity, temperature, will be useful depending on what planet you travel to. Robot enemies are confirmed. Not putting Starfield on PS5 helps with focus, says they've always primarily focused on Xbox when it came to consoles. So a couple of things here. So first of all, you're going to have to choose the correct loadouts. Obviously, the suit that you're wearing is going to have a major effect on where you're going to be able to travel to, what planet you travel to. I think that's really cool. It's going to make you think through a lot of stuff before going on an adventure. You're not just going to be able to go out there and go to any planet, because you're probably going to end up dying if you don't have the right equipment. Robot enemies are confirmed. That's not very surprising. I expected that. And not putting Starfield on PS5 helps with focus. Now, this is something that is going to get a lot of people talking, a lot of people debating, for a couple of reasons. Obviously, Starfield not being on PlayStation, being an Xbox exclusive, is going to be one of the biggest exclusives this generation, without a shadow of a doubt. I think it's going to be the biggest, to be completely honest. Starfield and then Elder Scrolls 6. I think those two are going to be the biggest exclusives that we are going to see in at least the RPG genre of video game. There are going to be a lot of people coming over to Xbox to play this game. There are going to be a lot of people signing up to Xbox Game Pass to play it, and that, from the business perspective, is what Xbox wants. But in terms of developing this game, they don't have to focus on multiple different consoles, which is something that we are starting to see kind of crop up as sort of being an issue with the recent releases of the big AAA games in the last couple of months, where it's not the consoles that are the issues, it's the optimization across all these consoles that is causing games to be at 30 FPS, causing games to just have not great performance. And you can see that it is something that is probably annoying developers, or they're being pushed to push out these games before they are just amazingly optimized for every single product. And not having to do that, I think, is going to make this game more polished at the end of the day. But when you look at specifically the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, right? There isn't much difference between them in terms of the actual hardware between them. The Xbox Series X is more powerful. The PS5 has the variable clocks, so that's going to make it different in terms of when you're getting these games, that you're going to have to look at that, whereas it isn't unlocked on the Xbox Series X. So all of that type of stuff, if you're somebody on Xbox, you're sitting here and you're expecting this game to be just extremely high quality, as the biggest exclusive that is going to be coming out in 2023, because they are only having to focus on Xbox, and that alone is where they need to show off what they can do with this box. I think Starfield and I think Redfall, those are two huge games that, if they aren't meeting expectations for performance, graphical fidelity, all that type of stuff, you're going to have a lot of people upset about it. But again, at the end of the day, what's most important is just how good of an RPG this game is. It doesn't have to be the best looking game in the world, but it does have to wow us in one way or another. And I think it definitely will in gameplay and narrative and all that type of stuff. And hopefully with the landscapes and the graphical stuff going through space and on the different planets. Now, continuing here on that topic, Todd Howard says they went into development focused on Xbox, so the exclusivity isn't abnormal for them. Xbox brought Bethesda to consoles with Elder Scrolls Morrowind. I mean, yes, that's 100% true. People think that this is like a new relationship. It isn't. If you were on the OG Xbox like I was back in the day, Morrowind was just an insane game. I just remember not even playing it, going over to my friend's house before I had got an Xbox and just watching them for hours play this game, just blown away as to I had never seen a game like this before, and that was an Xbox exclusive. Continues here to say Xbox top engineers are helping with Starfield development on the Series X and S. And that's a cool thing to hear, because this is one of the big advantages of purchasing Bethesda from both the Bethesda side and the Xbox side, is that they get to use the talent that they already have there to help them make sure that this game is running properly. It's been delayed. People are expecting things. A lot of people are thinking that this is going to be a 30 FPS game. He hasn't fully confirmed that. He said that he liked the 30 FPS for like the cinematic style of stuff, but I'm going to take a guess here, and I would be surprised if there isn't a 60 FPS mode in Starfield. And you have to keep in mind that one of the big advantages of delaying Starfield isn't just that they have more time to polish it, but they also get to take a look at all the backlash that has occurred in this big AAA release of games over the last few months, with games releasing at 30 frames per second, and people upset about that. That's not something I think that Starfield and Todd Howard are going to want to have on release. They're not going to want the headlines for Starfield to be dominated by it being 30 frames per second. So I have a feeling with this extra time that they're getting, we don't have an official release date, they are going to be making sure that there is a 60 FPS mode. And when it comes to the delay of Starfield, he says here, delaying Starfield was tough, but the right thing to do. They wanted to say they could get it done given the amount of work left and the amount of time remaining, but it was too much risk involved to the team, the game, the fans, and Xbox. And again, if that's the case, it was a great move to delay. This isn't a game that you can risk releasing that isn't polished, that isn't something that people are going to be amazed by. I've said this so many times when it comes to Starfield. It is a generational game. It's a game that they have to capitalize on. I think they will, because every time he talks about it, it just sounds better and better. Continues here saying, says there's add pressure to deliver for everybody with Starfield since they are a platform seller now, making the game. Says he prefers console to PC because he's in front of a PC all day at work. The world is generated in tiles like usual Bethesda games. They made these tiles look like realistic landscapes, put them together, and then wrap them around a planet. That sounds pretty cool. We'll see how that works out on every planet that they have out there with the 1,000 planets and all that type of stuff. And he says they could have done way more than 1,000 planets, but decided to set a limit due to the detail of naming and having a distinct feeling about each one. The star systems are leveled. So this was the major concern for most people when it came to Starfield, is are these 1,000 planets going to be bland? Are they just going to be out there, not have character? And is it going to take away from the immersion of the game? And from here, from what he is saying, that isn't sounding like it is the case, because they all are going to be having a distinct feeling about each one, which 1,000 planets, distinct feelings, just sounds just crazy. It sounds unrealistic, but hey, that's what he said here. We're gonna have to take his word for it. Now, I'm sure there will be planets that are far more detailed. The planets that you mainly go on for the story and the campaign and side missions, I'm sure those are going to be far more detailed than the random planet out there that you can just explore if you want to explore. But if they are distinct and they do feel different, even if it is just a bit different than another planet that you've already visited, I think it's a pretty big accomplishment to have 1,000 of those. Now, he specifically mentions a level 40 system, so different systems will be of varying difficulty. I mean, he's talked about that already in the stuff above in terms of the system leveling. The tone is that space travel should feel dangerous and that they have dialed this back and forth during development, can possibly mine planets for fuel. That's great. I want it to feel dangerous. That's one thing that I definitely had on my checklist for this game, is that when you're flying through space, I want you to feel like there's something at any point can come out and attack you. You need to be prepared. You need to make sure that you have resources and all of that type of stuff. So I hope it is along those lines. They get into environmental things on planets, spacesuits, buffs, gases, toxicity, temperature. There are robots. So all the stuff he's already talked about above. And you can jump into a system and see a freighter. Other ships can contact you. That's pretty cool. Other ships can contact you. And I wonder what this is going to mean for the entirety of the game in terms of the NPCs. And if they will at any point include some sort of multiplayer system where you could jump into the system that you're in, and if maybe somebody else can jump in, maybe contact you. Probably not, but that would be something cool to think about in the future. Maybe there will be some mods or whatever that play on this feature. So Starfield sounds incredible. I know people had their doubts when they showed off that trailer, the frame rates, the animations, all stuff that I think that they are going to be working on with this delay. I'm sure all of that's going to be fixed by the time the game comes out. But the more Todd Howard talks about it, more I get excited about it. There hasn't really been a moment where I haven't been hyped for Starfield. My hype is extremely high, and I don't think they're going to let us down. The stuff that he says here sounds like this is going to be an absolutely insanely ambitious title. But that's it for me, guys. What are your thoughts on Todd Howard's newest comments on Starfield? Are you still excited? Did the last trailer kind of turn you off? What do you think about the system leveling, the planets, all of that type of stuff? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here and you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.